I don't know your incumbent. I'm really looked into. I'm going to be doing the campaign finances of all of these and stuff like that.
So in my case, Ken Rogers is not running for the seat again. He's running for Secretary of State.
That's right. You don't have an opponent.
And so now I don't have an opponent, which I think is great. But
I imagine you'll get one.
I imagine I'll get one. So I'm working on this.
That's what I said in the video on the way here.
Yeah.
I imagine you'll get one.
I imagine I'll get one. So.
Yeah, I can't see. We got till June. We still have 3.5 months. And there were some people that were going to run in like Sedgwick County, Wichita area. I have a friend that's a precinct committee person, and she's like raring to go, start campaigning. And they said, well, they won't officially run and announce until day of. That way, people have less time to get dirt on them. And so I'm assuming that's something that a lot of these people factor in, and I'm like, what dirt? I thought you just don't have no dirt. But so there are people that wait until June 1st for strategic reasons that are running, but there's always whispers. And there's always, I know a couple people that are running as Democrats for Kansas House that haven't announced yet, but I know they're running, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so there's somebody. Maybe I'll hear a whisper. Those are the kind of things I like to find out. I'm like, ooh, I got the scoop.
Well, and to your earlier point about potentially having a candidate not wanting to throw your vote away, I feel like that's what our region has been doing. Mm-hmm. So I think there's 2 points I need to make about this. The first one is I moved back in 2020, right before the pandemic. It was 2 weeks before the pandemic happened. I thought I was going to be here, staying at my mom's house. I was just going to finish my dissertation and get an academic job somewhere. I started working on that, got really isolated and depressed, basically, and dissertation was not coming along. Simultaneously, we had local problems. We had a family friend who was invited in and to help revitalize our nursing home, and he needed a technical writer. And I said, okay, I will do that. And so I started working for him, put the dissertation aside, and I realized that throughout the region, as we were working on economic development stuff, not just nursing home stuff, but how to create supply chains for that nursing home and all that there's a real need for grant writers, technical writers, that there's a lot of potential out this way that wasn't being unlocked. Mm-hmm. That also turned into a little bit of local activism because I started attending Ellis County Democrat events. Mm-hmm. And I had been an independent for the most part because I'm more on the Bernie Sanders side of the party than I am on the other establishment side of the party, the neoliberal side of the party, which we can talk about neoliberalism.
No, I get it.
At a different point, but long story short,
I understand. I know what you're saying.
I stayed back and I was doing that work for a while, and we have a very independent streak out here, I would say, but there's also kind of a lack of leadership, wanting to follow the rules, investigate, and do the rules in order to acquire funding for various projects that need to be done. And
I've done a little bit of grant writing, and
it's tough,
especially when you're asked. I mean, I just wrote for a grant that the city was doing for some project. But when you're talking about writing grants to get money from the federal government, it's almost like the patent.
Yes,
you have to have every I dotted, every T crossed, everything exactly to their parameters, or they will just be like, "This is 11-point font." Or whatever, you know what I mean? They will just toss it out if you're not exactly to the parameters. And so there's a lot of attention to detail that's required in that. Yeah. And bill writing. It would translate into bill writing.
Oh, yeah. All the above. I would love to do some of that stuff, mostly just because some of our laws are really archaic. And I've done some of that stuff for the party, too. So as I've participated, there's a bylaws change that I'm proposing.
When did you move back here?
2020. 2021.
So you weren't here in 2016 when all that went down with Bernie. No. See, I was in Wichita, so I got a Bernie story.
South Carolina.
I got a Bernie story. I don't know what it was like out there, but here, Bernie activated me in a way. Like, I voted, I kind of paid attention. I mean, compared to most people, I was an informed voter because I could at least knew who our Secretary of State was for the state. Right. That's all it takes, right?
Yeah.
And so, but Bernie really got me. I walked in a parade float by choice.
Right.
That's not something I normally do. I wore a shirt. I felt like I could loudly and proudly display my support for him because I could defend that decision. And no, he woke me up and gave me hope in a way. And then I was at the time I was really focused on precinct committee people and how the parties are missing that foundation. So I found out, this is how uninformed it was. I didn't even know precinct committee people were a thing or what they do.
Yeah.
And then somebody at some meeting I was at was just like, I overheard a conversation two guys were having about it. I was like, precinct committee people, what's that? And then I started looking into it. I was like, oh, they have 75 instead of 900 making decisions.
Right.
And so that led me down that. And then it was just, everybody was energized. There were people that were energized, and we were excited to make change. And at the poll that I went to for the primary, there were just a line in Wichita, Kansas, of young white Republicans switching parties to vote for Bernie. And I was like, this is it. This is it, right? And then the establishment that was just there in Sedgwick County.
Right.
That are still lurking around. It's
absolutely.
much better now 10 years later, though.
Yeah.
But I've watched it develop.
Sure.
And so it takes Kansas 10 years to get caught up, right?
I've heard this in various ways. Or we're 10 years ahead of the curve.
But I feel like the establishment came in. They were just so pissed. They wanted Hillary. They were so mad that the side of Bernie people, and we were all happy and cheering. And they were a bunch of grumpy old people over there, like, right? It was so clear that this was the precipice of change, and then they did whatever they do, and they took it. And I was just like, if that is the turnout that he had here in Wichita, Kansas, how did he lose? And so it's like, I obviously don't have the answers to that, but.
Well,
I feel like he was robbed, man.
I was living in South Carolina at the time, and basically the establishment there felt that he wouldn't win nationally against any candidate. Now, I think he would have easily beaten Trump. There's lots of evidence to support that. Bernie,
he had the young people.
The problem is. The Democratic Party is a centrist party, right? It is not at the national level.
Yes.
You're going to have variances in different states and
Southern
whatnot.
Democrats.
Yes.
And you're going to find that, and I think this bears out in Kansas-wide, that then the model voter that they want to appeal to is ultimately Republicans. Well, Republicans don't want to have anything to do with us. Like those diehard MAGA people, they don't care. You know,